This time we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Butler. Here. Senator Figures. Here. Senator Hatcher. Here. Senator Hovey.
Here.
Senator Kitchens.
Here.
Senator Price.
Here.
Senator Shellnut.
Here.
Senator Smitherman.
Here.
Senator Stutz. And Senator Chasteen.
Here. Okay. We have a quorum and ready to conduct business. At this time we'll ask the clerk to call the first bill.
SB 278 by Senator Shellnut.
Senator Shellnut, this is a bill that we had a public hearing on 2 weeks ago, and we got the bill back on the calendar today, so I'll give Senator Shellnut a few minutes to make a couple of comments, and then we'll take questions from committee members. Go ahead. Senator Shellnut.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm sure many of the members like me have received messages from their school board members, principals, maybe some superintendents. I've talked to several since last week, and you know, after talking to the ones that I got a chance to talk to and respond to, you know, most of them were, oh, well, that's a good thing. So I know they're getting information from the Superintendent Association. You know, vote no is horrible, it's mandating something, but you know, I believe, along with the Lieutenant Governor, that, you know, nobody opposing the passage has offered a single valid argument against it. The bill is designed to provide local control and flexibility, ensuring that districts can implement policies that best suit their needs while respecting the constitutional rights of students and parents. I'm going to address some questions from the public hearing. You know, local policy adoption, yes, local boards have the ability to adopt their own policies. If the policy they implement is super narrow because this does not work in their district in any way, then so be it. Elective credit, yes, local boards determine if they award elective credit. They don't have to if they don't want to. Hours of instruction, yes, local boards decide the exact number of hours. If they don't want to give credit, they don't have to. Background checks, yes, faith-based providers accept responsibility and liability and should conduct background checks. Nothing prevents boards from including this in their policy. Participation, yes, local school boards determine which schools participate. For example, Hoover has implemented this only at the high school level, and other school districts do this at the elementary level. Scheduling is decided by the district. It matches an available elective or special class time. Schools do not have to change class schedules if this does not fit into the day. Then the policy will be so narrow as will affect the time constraint, and no program will be able to fit in the policy. So they can do what they want to. Examples from Shelby Academy. Some schools schedule fourth graders during library time every 4 days. Another elementary school schedules during lunch and recess. In some parts of the country, a mobile unit comes into the school and parks nearby for the program. Nonprofits raise money in the community and provide the curriculum. This does not cost our schools any money. And regarding religious groups, yes, all religious groups are allowed. We believe in freedom of religion. More freedom and less, not less, is always the answer. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to take any questions. I just don't understand why our Superintendent Association would be not for this. So, with that, I encourage all members, I hope you will vote for this bill, 278.
Thanks, Senator Sheldon. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Senator Butler?
I'll direct this to Senator Sheldon. I had a conversation with one of my superintendents the other day, and he was opposed to the bill. He said, we've already got this. If they've already got it, this doesn't interfere with that, does it?
Right, they can make their own, whatever policy they want to make, they can make.
That's what I thought.
Okay, Senator Smith, do you have a question?
Yes, I probably have several, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
One is that who is gonna bear liability, and I don't mean off the cuff comment somebody, I'm talking about show me in this bill. Who is gonna bear liability for the kid that drives his own self and goes to a off-site program? Who's gonna bear that? And I'm gonna just tell you why I asked that. I've heard from superintendents, just like the Senator said, not every last one of them have responded, but the ones that responded are not in support of the bill. And so I've heard mixed emotions about why we should have the bill. But what I did was, yesterday, I actually went to the school, okay? And I have to say that because I coach boys basketball in high school. Okay? Been coaching for over 40 years. So I'm there with kids all the time at school, off and on. Actually I went to one of the track practice as well. And this is what I asked. I said, if we had this right here in school, I said, what y'all thought about it? And the first thing came out their mouth from some of the kids was that, they ain't going. They just talk about some things that kids do. And I won't say it in here, but they said, I'm just gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Not all of them. They're gonna say that, but let me tell you what's gonna happen to them. We wanna do that. They're gonna side up. They're gonna get out of school, go do what they wanna do. And they said that. They said some other things. But so I heard from one of my superintendents about the same thing, about, okay, we don't have any, after that point, we don't have any control over, but they still under us, but we don't have control. That's an hour that if it's done outside during the 8 to 5, at 8 to 3, then they're under us, but they're out there. If a suit is filed, who gonna have to defend it? And we can say it here, but they were saying that because they're the primary responsible person, state law says from 8 to 3, they're responsible. I mean, that's one of the concerns seriously that they have about that aspect of it as well. So to me, the concept is fine, and I have to say this, Mr. Chairman, to just clear up probably a few people who wondering, you know what I'm saying. I believe in God. I don't care if nobody else up here or out there believe in him. I believe in him. To the level I've been ordained elder. So it's not anything about God. you know, I wanna get that straight to everybody in here. It's not anything about it. You know, you wanna talk about the power of it? Yeah, 5, 8, and 7, your dad have a stroke. 5, 8, and 16, your mama have cancer. 5, 8, and 16, you get custody legal of your sister who is left. Okay, so you wanna tell me about what God does. That's why I shared that. I don't want anybody to go off in them religious tangles in your mind thinking one thing, but these issues have gotta be addressed. It's great the feeling of people who wanna have them and to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but remember I talked about the airplane? This is an airplane moment. We're sitting up ready to take off on the runway. Everybody see God down at the end, and I do too. But under here, you got people who working on the plane, who taking the luggage out, who put fuel in it. And the pilot don't see these people. He get ready to take off, and he gonna take all these people out. And the things I'm talking about them kids and about that, that's something that is not even been thought of because we're thinking so much about trying to provide for these kids to participate in the religious thing. So I think that it needs some tightening up. I think it's gotta be whether or not we need to look that this is something that if the school makes a policy, they'll make a similar policy like I've heard you all say that. I mean, at the school that that I coach at, you know, we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they come before school starts. They go out by the flagpole. They do what they have to do. So all I'm saying is that it got to be framed in such a way that you deal with the liability aspect of it. I know if folks got these off-site things and they pushing it because, you know, that's maybe your church or maybe whatever. But this is about the school and about these kids and about religion. So I just wanted to share that to everyone sitting in here that whereas I'm gonna vote to get this bill out of committee, but I do think that before we move that bill on the floor, that these things have got to be tightened up. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Smithman, I appreciate your comments. Senator Sheldon, do you have a response to you?
Yes, Senator Smithman, I appreciate your comments. You know, the sponsoring entities assume all liabilities in this case, but hey, if you want to tighten it up, I'd be glad to work with you on any kind of floor amendment we need to work with. Be glad to work with you on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hatcher.
I think I guess all of what you listed, Senator Sheldon, are all the reasons why I suspect we don't need this bill. And my question is, why are we changing the may to shall?
Because there are certain situations, parents, you know, not aware of the policies, they go to ask and they're just told no and not given any kind of reasons or anything that this is not allowed.
And that's the only reason we're doing that?
That's one of the reasons.
Other reasons?
Because the parents and kids are wanting it. That's the main reason. It's something that's wanted and needed. And there's just, you know, some entities that don't want to come up with a policy, don't want to tell why they're not going to allow it. I guess they don't want to defend their bad policies.
Well, you know, one of the things you mentioned, and that's true, even though in this current climate we're in, there seems to be all kinds of opportunities to violate the Constitution. There's freedom of religion, right? I have real concerns about anything that would mandate, and like Senator Smithman mentioned, I'm a person of faith. But I do not subscribe to the idea of what I think the bill is suggesting. At some point, my real concern about some of these cultural issue type legislation that we're seeing, not just here in the state of Alabama, because this is kind of boilerplate legislation in my view. At some point, we have to give parents the responsibility we say parents should have in terms of how they go about the process of sharing moral values with their kids. And I don't know that, in fact, I know that it should begin at home. I am concerned about the same kinds of issues that I've heard Senator Smithman raise. And I'm also very concerned about what we are not doing as it relates to these school systems who do have responsibility for, you know, this release time. I think it was mentioned in the hearing about the need for, you know, obviously our kids have a significant 7 to 8 hour day, right? And as an educator for several decades now, I can tell you that time is full and well spent. And in some instances where I have been in private school settings and taught the art of the biblical narrative, where this is a part of what we've done, but I think the hang-up that I have, besides the overall legislation itself, is the intention behind it. And I think if I don't have a good grasp of the intention behind legislation, I'm almost always going to be caught up in the consequences of it. And so my concern is something as simple but as important as the inclusion of a shall as opposed to may in this legislation alone. And I don't know, and as much as I can appreciate, I think, the spirit of this, I don't know that that's been answered properly for me. That we're saying now, you shall do this. And that implies, obviously, the very real mandate. That is a problem. And there's no reason. And it explains why, over the last, since this legislation has been introduced, I've received, I don't know how many, as you echoed, so many people around the state, mainly school leaders and youth ministers who are against this legislation. So I'm always concerned, Mr. Chair, about where this comes from. Because I do know that there's a slippery slope to this kind of legislation. And I will add this as a final piece. I do know that a part of the intent of legislation like this has a great deal to do with this notion of Christian nationalism. What happens when we have other faith traditions wanting to be released? You said that would be okay. But what really happens? What happens if it points into a different direction that is, as I've seen with some other legislation similar to this, where it's satanic? We've heard that. And so the idea would be, what do we do there? And so I'm just, and again, when did Christian nationalism become national? I think Christianity has always been international. And the idea of what happens at this point creates a slippery slope that I don't think we should be involved in. I would love if we had legislation that could legislate people's hearts, if we could do that. I think it would be great. But we can't. We don't get to do that. So what we get to do, I think, for this committee, is to look at, in many instances that we have, how do we increase test scores? What are the things that we can do to make possible for our young people to have a level and measure of achievement in a global environment that will help them to be successful? Those are the things that I think that, we do and have done in this education policy committee. This piece is dangerous. And again, I end with saying, may as opposed to shall is as clear to me as how it's used in Scripture. Because in the Old Testament tradition alone, when the term shall is used, you've never seen may in Scripture. Shall be done. That's a whole different dynamic. And just that simple twist of the words can change an entire piece. So, Mr. Chairman, with that.
Thank you, Senator Hatch, for your comments. Senator Smith, you have a comment?
Yes, a quick comment. One is that I didn't share this, but several of my instructors were concerned about, they were, although I see what we're saying here, that they can make the policy in relationship to this. But one of their main issues was the fact that, many of our schools who are on the failing list fall on the curve of needing even more time than they have now to prepare. And although it may seem minuscule, but it begins a process of chipping away at the time that students normally would have for strict academics. That has been stressed very seriously by some of our instructors, especially in particular the school that I coach. my comment to my senator down there on the end from Montgomery is that when you said, where is it coming from? Let me just ask you to do something and then we'll talk tomorrow or something. Read the 2025 plan. Just read it. Just read it. You'll know where this is coming, not from them, but you'll know where the overall concept is coming from. Just read it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Senator Sheldon.
Yeah, the legislation states that, this can't replace any core curriculum. And, the parents have to get permission. They have to opt in to anything. So I just want to address those. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from members of the committee? If not, we'll ask clerk to call the roll for a vote, please.
Senator Butler,
Aye.
Senator Chastain,
Aye.
Senator Figurs, Senator Hatcher,
No.
Senator Hovey,
Aye.
Senator Kitchens,
Aye.
Senator Price, Senator Shellnut,
Aye.
Senator Smitherman,
Yes, to get out.
Senator Stutz.
Aye.
Okay, 8-1, bill given a favorable report. Thank you, Senator Sheldon. Thank you, committee members. Clerk, call the next bill, please.
HB 459 by Representative Pringle.
Representative Pringle, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, SB 459 addresses the university. Nobody went to hear me anyway. SB addresses the University of South Alabama Board of Trustees. The board currently has 4 seats that are based on the 1963 reapportionment Senate districts. And this bill converts those 4 to 1 at-large United States and 3 at-large in the states. Also ensures that the current trustees hold their position, and it changes the special meeting notice from 10 days down to 24 hours, which brings it in compliance with our open meeting laws. And it just changes, they're specified they have to have their annual meeting the first Monday in June. This just allows them to meet in June, period.
Thank you, Representative. Hear a motion for favorable? Questions?
Okay.
Senator Smith.
So what you're doing, you're saying that the ones who are in a congressional district,
State Senate district. It's 1963 State Senate.
1963 state Senate district. All right, why we're not changing it to fit the state Senate districts now? Who are we trying to not put on there? Because if we did, if we're coming back to change it to what you were saying, let me say it like this. I don't understand, I see the need to change this because the changes will take place through reapportionment. And you chairman of reapportionment, so you know I'm accurate, that by the way, you the chairman, and I'm the ranking member. I've been on reapportionment for 31 years. Every day I walked in here, even y'all thought enough to put me on that, I appreciate it. But I'm saying so what I'm saying is right. I mean, it's just that why we gotta say at large, I mean, I have my own opinion, but why would we have to see the need to make this at large when we already got Senate district, it's a Senate district, state Senate district, we already got them. Just because lines change, it bring in other people than were there. So I'm not saying that with your personal intent. I'm talking about the bill. I want to make that clear that this is not you and me.
Yeah,
It's the bill. You know, but that's what it does. And I have a concern because it's taking away those people still in those Senate districts the opportunity to be a part of this board, and it puts it at state at large, and we can go get this guy over here or this lady over here because we know that that's why they think the philosophy. But the folks in that district don't have no representation because we've just taken it away from them, and this is something that they already got. We're not talking about a debate on something neutral, and I'm debating about the LA representation, and you're debating that. This is a fact that we have now. So, that I have a concern because now those people do not have representation. I understand what you're doing. I'm on the board of trustees at University of Mount Valley. I understand what you're doing, But I also understand that we are taking this away from those people in those districts, whatever ones that we are eliminating now. And I do have concern, serious concern about that.
I understand completely, because you remember the 1963 state senate districts were pre-Reynolds v. Sims. So those districts are actually locked in the 1901 Constitution. And at that time, the senate districts and house districts were nested. We've unnested, and the courts have ruled that we have to change the districts. So all this is just bringing it more modern. Is we'll have geographic diversity on the board.
Well, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about, I know we got diversity on there, and I appreciate that. I'm talking about those people in those senate districts that now will be denied that opportunity. What we need to do is to modernize that to fit these districts. Instead of eliminating these districts and then just giving an at will to the board and say, I want to get this person over here in California. I want to get this one over here in Birmingham. And that might not be the district. You see what I'm saying? It may be some district, maybe around you all down there in South Alabama. So I do have serious concerns about that.
It makes it in compliance with the other board of trustees of the other universities.
I would respectfully disagree, and I put it like this: the one I'm on, we don't have no full state at large, and then
Do y'all have them by state senate district?
well, it's a combination, like you said already, just like they got a combination.
Y'all
They got at large people.
And y'all have state senate districts written into your board of trustees?
No, I think ours is congressional.
Congressional, not
I
state.
think it's congressional, but I'm just still saying that they have at large. This is just putting four more added on to that large, taking away from this was already in stone that those people ought to have representation.
It's gonna be interesting, because we're gonna probably lose a congressional seat in the next reapportionment, in the next census, I think, so. It's gonna be interesting to see how we deal with it.
We're not gonna lose it. We be tight, but we're not gonna lose it.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, what we call roll, please?
Senator Butler,
Aye.
Senator Chastain.
Aye.
Senator Figurs, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kitchens, Senator Price, Senator Shellnut, Senator Smitherman,
I'm gonna abstain right now, with the possibility that I may or may not be for this. Thank you.
Senator Stutz.
Aye.
Okay. Bill, give a favorable report. Thank you, Representative Pringle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Okay, clerk, let's call the next bill, please.
HB 61 by Representative Dubose.
Representative DeVoe, welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. And I'm here to present HB 61, which passed out of this committee last year. And we're bringing it back again, hoping we can get it through this time. But this bill simply allows homeschoolers to participate in career and technical programs in the public schools.
Okay. Move for favorable. Senator Smith.
Thank you. Representative, I've had so many complaints about this from my superintendents, some of my principals, as early as last year, even before you actually put the bill in, I had some serious complaints, and they're concerned about the fact that they have really no direct supervision over the child. We're not talking about when he's sitting in no class. I know that I heard your response, that's why you see me jump to that. We're talking about when them kids hit the school, they decide that, well, I need to leave or something. You know, it's completely chaos for those schools with those students who just kind of drift in and school is going and then all of a sudden they decide to drift out, and it's a nightmare for the educational system. That's number one. But number two, on a more personal note, and I'm just gonna say this to you, you know, if they want those services, go to the school. I ain't saying that everybody should make their kids go to school, to homeschool and anything else you wanna do. But what we're saying is that it's all right not to go to the school, but we wanna cherry pick what we wanna take out of school. And that's not school. That's not supported by our education system and our public education system. It's actually putting those kids at a disadvantage. And I have serious concerns about this cherry picking and going in, getting what you want, but anything else, do whatever else you want. You know, education in my opinion, was not designed to be like that. It's either you're gonna be in private school, you're gonna be in public school, or you're gonna be in home school. And that's the kind of way I believe in that concept. And, I do have some very serious concerns about this bill. Had some last year, I got the same concerns I got this year.
Yeah.
So it's nothing personal, it's nothing about anything else. It's just that, you know, I have little concerns and I've seen it in action and I just don't, I can't support it.
Yeah.
One comment that I have too, Representative Dubose, and you've addressed in your, many of our career tech centers have a limited capacity.
That's correct.
And, you know, we got a waiting list in many of our career centers right now for public school students to get in. So, seeing that, you know, if the space is available, as you
That's
have.
right. Public school students would have first dibs, so to speak. And also the principals can come up with guidelines. For example, if the homeschool student is late 3 times, they're out. If they don't attend regularly, they're out. You know, the school is free to set their own policies in order to make sure this works with the school and that you do have some sort of accountability for those students. That's really important. And, you know, as far as cherry picking program, I mean, the deal with career tech, you really cannot replicate that in a home environment. And we're talking about having kids workforce and career ready. And this is part of the overall objective that we have in our state, is to make sure our students are ready for the workforce. And that's why we're prioritizing this type of option for homeschool students and not just cherry picking any and everything.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I would just throw out the possibility, if that's the case, that's where they need to be enrolled and do enrollment in junior colleges. We don't need to disrupt our public schools at all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, clerk, call the roll, please.
Senator Butler? Yes, sir. Senator Chastain?
Aye.
Senator Figures? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Kitchens? Senator Price? Senator Shelnutt? Senator Smitherman?
No.
Senator Stutz?
Okay, 412, so the bill's given a favorable report. Thank you, Representative Dubose.
Thank you, committee.
Members, before we finish this morning, we have, as all of you know, our Committee on Higher Ed has been working very hard to make sure that we retain our college graduates. So at this time, for the next few minutes, I know we have another committee meeting right up next to us. Ms. Lexi Bolton from Higher Ed, would you step down and introduce your students that we're speaking for, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for having us this morning. My name is Leslie Bolton. I'm with the Higher Education Partnership. We represent the 14 public 4-year universities in the state. And a few years back, you all challenged us to think about why students were leaving Alabama after graduation. So we appreciate you all supporting our work to organize the Student Retention Council. It's a group of students appointed by their university presidents or chancellor to study this issue and to encourage their peers to consider Alabama as a career destination. I'm going to get out of the way and let the students take over. They've done some great work in the last year. They're really excited to share with you about the impact they've had on campus and across the state as they've sort of explored these ideas and developed some of their own to make a difference. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you all today. My name is Jalen Bradley, and I'm from Monrovia, Alabama. I'm a senior at Auburn University at Montgomery, majoring in kinesiology with a concentration in exercise science. I have a few of my peers here with me from other universities within the state, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cynthia Lee, and I'm originally from Chelsea, Alabama. I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and I'm studying bioinformatics and pursuing a master's in public health and health policy.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name is Haley Hoggle, and I'm from Mountville, Alabama, and I am a senior accounting major from Troy University.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cole Wheeler. I am a senior at Auburn University studying aviation management with a minor in business, and I am originally from Spanish Fort, Alabama.
In 2022, you guys supported the Higher Education Partnership in forming the Student Retention Council under Retain Alabama, and we are grateful to be here as a part of Cohort 3. The Student Retention Council was formed with two goals in mind: one, to act as a messenger to our peers, and also serve as a voice representing our peers. The SRC, again, is made up of students from the 14 public universities appointed by our university's presidents and chancellors. And this year, thanks to Innovate, Alabama's Innovative Entity designation, we were able to add 6 statewide leaders. So each cohort has accomplished a specific goal that has allowed us to build on the work year after year to develop new ideas about retaining Alabama's brightest and greatest students following graduation. The first cohort completed research on what students were looking for when they chose a post-grad destination. They identified a few decision-making factors and responded by highlighting the low cost of living, career opportunities, and other outdoor recreations. The second cohort added on to that by diving into the quality of life, and they did that by exploring elements that would appeal to young professionals. They learned from community developers and economic developers about how positive quality of life is planned for and developed. And now, the third cohort, we built onto that by building deeper connections with our career centers on campuses to highlight Alabama's strengths in low cost of living, great career opportunities, quality of life, and outdoor recreations.
Hello, everyone. So, starting a few months ago, we reached out to many campus groups in order to spread as much awareness as possible. We reached a wide range of students from the different majors in different organizations, including computer science majors to finance majors to SGA to fraternity and sorority life. And overall, we were able to reach over 1,000 student leaders across the public universities in Alabama. And over these past 3 years, the SRC has been able to reach over 4,500 student leaders. We conducted post-presentation surveys, and from these surveys, we've learned that 80% of students were more likely to consider Alabama as a post-graduation job destination, and 96% of students said they learned something new about a positive thing that Alabama offers. And overall, students were most surprised to learn about the low cost of living in Alabama, and they were very interested in the competitive benefits that this offers. In addition to our post-presentation surveys, we also had an added project about the career search. We've identified that career search is the #1 priority for students, and we wanted to create a better understanding of the challenges and opportunities that Alabama faces in competing in this area. We met with career centers to gather and distribute resources, and we created in-depth profiles of recent graduates' career searches. And what we found was that although there are many online job searching platforms available, most students have still accessed their career through networking, whether it be through their peers, their professors, or through connections from their internship. And you can see in our annual report that we've mapped the typical career search of a migrated graduate, and we believe there are several opportunities to improve outcomes. First, we believe it's important to continue to invest in knowledge-based career pathways. So this includes pathways such as medicine, law, finance, and marketing. In addition, we should continue to invest in internship opportunities for college students, particularly in these knowledge-based career pathways. And now I'm going to pass it over to Haley, who's going to talk about our future directions.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It is with great pride that I stand before you today to present the vision of our statewide leadership team. This vision seeks to shape the future of Alabama and to strengthen the bonds between our communities and the talented young professionals who will propel us forward. We propose internships and fellowships that bring careers to every corner of Alabama and empowering young talent to thrive locally. We aim to create pathways into civic leadership, giving my generation the tools to shape and serve our communities well. We celebrate the importance of public spaces as places where life unfolds and connections are made. And we believe in amplifying awareness of Alabama's events to enrich perceptions of our state's vibrant culture. I'm a proud Alabamian, so like this is such our vibe. All of us are Alabamians here, so we want to make this state better, and we hope to do that with the education that y'all have invested into us. And at the core of these proposals is a shared promise to make Alabama a place where young professionals flourish, a home that inspires and endures. We believe that every community in Alabama holds unique assets, and after connecting with over 10 communities through the Alabama Regional Planning Commissions, we are inspired with the potential for partnerships that can bring these ideas to life. We look forward to the future, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Cole.
Thank you guys again for the opportunity to speak today. I wanted to just kind of share a personal note about my time in the SRC. I was selected as a member of our regional leadership team this year. It's been so awesome to kind of learn about Alabama. As Haley said, I've been a lifelong Alabama resident, so it's hard for me to admit that I actually learned new things about Alabama through this process. But I learned all about someone who has a passion for events and opportunities. I learned about all of the awesome events and opportunities that Alabama's communities already have. A lot of college students look for events and opportunities as they're leaving. They want to know they have something to do on the weekends or after work when they get off. And it's awesome to know that Alabama has all of those events and opportunities. Part of my passion is putting those events and opportunities out there so that they know that those opportunities are happening, so that they'll consider Alabama as a postgraduate destination. So as we build on cohorts 1 and 2, we're excited about the work that cohorts 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are going to do with the work we've done, and to continue to kind of build on what we've done and continue to show recent college graduates and college students that Alabama is an amazing place to live, kind of like all of us know today. So thank you guys again for the opportunity to speak, and if you have any questions.
Thank you all for being here. As I was listening to you, I couldn't help but just see the passion that you all have for this great state. You are the future of this state. And we do a tremendous job in our education with our hiring of the students that we educate. But we're losing too many. And as all of you have said, you know, there's so many great things in this state that we don't tell our story well enough. And so, you know, it's up to you guys to, in your role, to tell that story for us, because the more we keep here, the more graduates we keep here, the brighter our futures are. Any committee members have any comments? Senator Hatcher.
I just want to echo the chairman's words, and I would add this. It was the late Representative Elijah Cummings who said, and I hope I do it justice, so I'm going to personalize it. You all are the future, the letter to a future that we will never see in real life. And the beauty of what you're doing is that you are not who you are now, but who you're aspiring to be. And the good thing about having each of you from the state of Alabama seeking to further your education here in the state is that you are making real for us what our responsibility should be to each of you. And I thank you for that. And I just want to say, for a moment there, I thought we needed to get you a pedestal on the tiptoes. But you all have done so extremely well, as we expect. And thank you all for being here sharing this.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Senator Sutton.
I just want to echo what you said and thank all of you for being here. I certainly appreciate the efforts that you've put in to make the state better, and I know you'll do a lot more of that in the future. And when you look at how one decides to locate for their career, one of you mentioned networking. You know, you all are going to be in a position to that. As it says in the Auburn Creed, I believe in the human touch, and there's no substitute for that. And it's not online, it's meeting people, talking to people, and selling the state of Alabama to the people that you come in contact with throughout your career. And I appreciate you being here and what you shared today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Stutz. Again, students, thank you for being here and sharing your story with us today, for the work and the commitment that you have put into this council. Lexi, thank you, and Gordon for the work that you do with these students as well. We are adjourned.